Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realness with 3 S's. I am your host here, Chantele Francis, here with my lovely co-host today. We have, ta-da!
Hey, it's me, Phil. How's it going? Phil Gorley.
This is Phil. I call him Survivor Phil, and he's going to be joining me on this episode recap chat today. If this is your first time on Reality Realness, well then welcome. Make sure you subscribe right down below. This channel is all about reality TV and hopefully all the gossip that goes along with it. So like I said before, we're kind of going to start off talking about Big Brother, but before that, I want to know, Phil, what brings you to enjoying Big Brother? Like, what's your origin story with reality TV? Give me the whole shebang. Why do you care?
Well, okay. Well, I'm actually probably I'm aging myself here, but I am probably one of the only people that remembers the very first episode, Big Brother 1. I watched it. I remember that.
I think I'm only a year or two younger than you, so yes, I remember Hollywood. I remember I remember Eddie. I did.
They standing outside the soundstage, Julie Chen with the stairs going into the soundstage, and it was a lot different time to where we're at now with Big Brother, definitely.
Definitely.
Definitely, it's improved most seasons, but yeah, most seasons. Right now, I'm not sure.
I think it stopped improving probably around season 10 or so. I think it started going on an interesting decline, in my opinion, because it might just be because I grew up with it, but I am team old school all the way. My favorite season, probably season 2 really got me into it. It was the first season I had the feeds. You might have heard me talk about this before, but my brother helped me figure out how to use ICQ to go in secret chat rooms and get like a key. And I got some key to unlock how to get the live feeds and then hook it up to my TV. And I was just watching, like drooling over Dr. Will.
Dr. Phil.
And I just loved him so much. I thought he was so cute and he was so smart, and like he was the puppet master. And so I really fell in love with Big Brother from then. I was always intrigued in reality TV because I watched like Real World, Road Rules, The Lofters I auditioned for, like all that stuff. Like I was into it.
So did I.
Obviously. So, yeah, like I definitely fell in love in season 6. So did you have like a season where you were like, I'm hooked?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first season that I felt like things really came together, I really, it doesn't get a lot of praise, but I really liked season 4. That was when the veto really started getting used properly. I was a huge June fan. I'm a huge Allison villain fan. I thought that they ran that house so well. I'd love to see June come back sometime and play again. And then after that, probably I love Big Brother 8. I mean, so many great characters in Big Brother 8 as well, and a lot of train wrecks in Big Brother 8 as well. Which is great.
My top 10 for sure. So my order is like season 2, probably because of like it's so nostalgic. But season 6 is my favorite, then 7, then 8. 9 is probably, I think at this point, better than 22, but it's definitely on the bottom. It's around 21 or 22 in my opinion. Yeah. 10 is up there, so 10 would probably be next.
Oh, 10 is wonderful. 10 is like the Keisha birthday is the best moment of Big Brother, in my opinion, ever. Like that goes on for, like if you watch the extended version of it, the live feeds version, that goes on for like 20 minutes. It's amazing. Like it is nonstop fight. And everyone's in it.
A rewatch of it because so I started working with Rob as a podcast, and so I wasn't sure who I was going to be talking about for we were doing we thought we were gonna have the episode or the cast list released, and then it wasn't released, so we're doing these hypothetical cast assessments. And so I was like, I don't know who I was going to get. And so I was just doing like just rewatches of like very important parts of people's seasons. And so I rewatched Keisha's birthday in its entirety. And I was like, oh my God, that was amazing. It was so good. And I just
it's one of those moments where you watch it and when it's done, you're like, wow.
That's what happens. Does anybody want cake? So good. But yeah, I'll always still like season 3 and season 4 and season 5. They're all very interesting.
Yeah, they're great and great characters. And then it turned once we got to like the double digits, they started worrying about typecasting. Really, instead of looking for just characters, they just were like, okay, we need this token person, we need this token person, and it just. I don't know. I think that they've lost sight on what was the magic of Big Brother, which was like just different people were coming in, and it was just like, let's see how this group works together. And they just seem to be like every year they're not picking the best people; they're picking the people that fit a role. Now it feels like.
Exactly, so. And I'll always watch Big Brother. I love gameplay. I love strategy. I love social strategy. Like I'll always be interested in what happens in Big Brother. But I've been noticing definitely in the last few seasons that I'm less excited to watch the gameplay. I'm more watching to see how annoyed I'm going to get and how much my side or who I want to do well is going to do poorly. Like it's like that's where I'm at right now, including this season especially. I had a lot of high hopes for this season. I thought that the cast was better than I was expecting them to be able to get during this time, and it's really been letting me down. How have you been feeling about this season so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sad that we're already, I mean, if you divide the cast in half of like when their seasons were, we're already down to, I think, like 3, maybe 4 old school people, and the rest are all like more recent seasons. And the ones that are left are the ones that you're like, oh, well, that's interesting. They got picked. I'm not quite sure if they're All-Star, but yeah, I mean, I think the first week I was upset Keisha went, and from seeing her Twitter responses being out of the house, she would have definitely brought in quite a lot of feistiness and would have been fighting quite a bit. Janelle and Kaiser, I mean, everybody loves them. They're great. Janelle's a fantastic TV, right? Like, I mean, she fights, and she still had that energy in her. Unfortunately, she was put into a situation where they sort of pushed them to the side and they had no other choice to be on the side. And even the people that were also on the outside, they didn't want anything to do with them. And, I like Kaiser. I'm not sure if he should have been back. I'm not sure if he's deserving of that all-star thing. And now that he's 3-time pre-jury.
Well, I think this is the thing with Kaiser. He has he's such a legend, right? And he's part of a pairing in legendary status. We want to see him play the game, and so whether or not he has succeeded in his, what he goes out to do, I think he's a legend in his conviction, a legend in how he really, really wants to show up and play. And so I think that his tenacity for the game and his passion for the game is what I think brings him in for an all-star status. And I think that if the house guests were at his caliber, in my opinion, they would have had the season that he would be good at playing. They had the season that would have been really dynamic for the fans. I feel as though the newer school house guests, they kind of want it to be just a popularity contest. And it's like, are you with the numbers? If you're not with the numbers, you're out. Don't fight for your position because we don't want any disagreements in the house. We just want it to be smooth sailing, and we'll just pick people off one by one until we get to our final core 4, and one of us will win. You know what I mean? But they wanted to drop line down the middle. Let's all have a fighting chance here and see if we can do something about this. And so I just think that the game that is being played right now doesn't suit Kaiser's game style. And unfortunately, he wasn't able to do any better than he did the time before.
Yeah. And the bad luck for him was, unfortunately for him, the wrong people got HOH. I mean, it would have been a totally different game if some of the right people got HOH for him, for his situation. And it probably would have been a whole lot more entertaining for everybody else to be watching. If some of the right people, the people we want to see win and mix it up and play. I mean, I feel like since Big Brother 15 was such a like crazy season, but I feel like that was the last season where like people went for it and fought with each other, and then it was sort of like, okay, like now we're sort of worrying what the whole house thinks, and we want it to be nice. I don't know. It just, we want it to be strategy, but the strategy is everybody should be on board with the HOH.
Right.
It's like, no, that's not right. Like, mix it up.
And she says to Bailey, she's like, well, why are we doing what the head of household wants? And he's like, well, that's the rule. And she's like, why? She's like, in my day, we did exactly the opposite of what the household wanted, because
they don't have a vote. They're done.
Right? We have to decide how to make these decisions work for us, you know? And so that is also Kaiser's game strategy. And, you know, he was trying to rally these troops. And I guess we can say that he's not a great game player because he doesn't really know how to pivot and change his game. And he doesn't know how to adapt to the new surroundings that he's in. He only really knows how to play one particular style and not even do well, as we can see in that particular style. But if the head of the household, like the whole house guests, were the same type of person as he was, we would have had a really exciting season. If Janelle had won that head of household competition, that would have been a dynamic season. If the week before, if Nicole had won, that would have been a dynamic season. Even if Kaiser had won, that would have been a dynamic season. If Kevin had won, it would have been a dynamic season. Like
Kevin, if Kevin would have even won, like, I mean, I'm not even cheering for Kevin.
He wasn't second up. So I'm talking about like the runners up for these kind of households. But also, though, I have a question though for you. Did you feel that the first head of household on the opening night or the premiere night was a little bit unbalanced? Because I was noticing that the guys on their little ball maze, they, you know, the women's holes were on the other side and it didn't have any sort of bumpers. And so Janelle would get it to the end and almost get it into the hole and it would roll off the side, while the guys was just like quite close to them and had balls bumping, like keeping them in. And I was even saying, hey, it looks like they're favoring this for a guy to win this first head of household.
Definitely. It was 100% that way. They obviously didn't think about it when they were doing it, because I don't think it was done on purpose, but honestly, what they should have done was just whoever was the first one to get it into the hole would win. But then they put a time limit on it, so sometimes nobody could get in there, or sometimes more than one person could get in. They should have just done first one to get it into the hole of the right room advances to the next round, and then they would have had 4 people, 2 guys, 2 girls, and it would have worked. But yeah, it was unfair.
Into the same hole, so at least there'd be an equalizer there.
Yeah. It was completely unfair. Yeah.
And did you also notice the stars that they had to bounce on? So Memphis went first, and he kind of fell.
And then they were moving.
When Cody got, so you could see the exact path that he needed to go on. Yeah. I also thought that was an oversight and really unfair. They did start to monitor that after the fact, but when it was most important was when Cody was setting that time. And if anybody other than Cody winning started the season, it would have been a whole different ball game.
Whole different game. Now, I do have to say, though, I did hear on the feeds, if I remember, I'm sure I did hear that they did say that they all decided behind the wall that they were going to throw it to Memphis. But then Memphis's time was so bad, Cody said he couldn't fall that much, so he did it. So I don't know if the ones that were behind Cody were going to actually try as hard to win it. But
well, I mean, he just set such a time that was pretty much impossible to beat.
Yeah, to beat anyways. Yeah,
the path. You know what I mean? So you know our friend Jonathan here. So he has a comment. So he says they should have had the Big Brother basement a few weeks ago and changed things up. Absolutely. I mean, why couldn't they have? I know it was the same space as the safety suite. So they had to change things.
I did like that the basement was upstairs. Come on.
It could have been like the BB attic or something. But that would have really been interesting and helpful. Like, it's supposed to be Allstars, so just throw in a whole bunch of stuff. Like the safety suite. Obviously, after the first week, it was really inconsequential. Like, who cares? Nobody cared who got it. It didn't really matter anything. Nobody cared about the costume. Like, the only people we wanted to save was Janelle and Kaiser at this point. And everybody else was against them. So it didn't even matter to have it for 3 weeks, to be fair.
No.
So
and there was no like in last season when it was like the dark room challenge, it was like somebody got eliminated, and I at 1 second I was like, oh well, maybe they didn't do it early because they were worried like David might be in trouble and then they'd get in trouble with that. But there was nothing about getting eliminated this time, so they should have done something like that. I think having powers and then making them last a bit longer would be more interesting. I don't know.
Or let them play.
Good powers. I do like the powers on the most part. I don't know about the back-to-back HOH. I don't think that really matters all that much. But.
I mean, it would matter if there was more of a division in the house.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like and if people that were winning weren't all the same people, like it would be useful. But the same 5 people are winning all the competition, so you could assume that one of them are going to probably win. It doesn't really matter. So let's talk about. Wait, so you watch the live feeds? So you're pretty much up to date with the live feeds and what's kind of happening.
I read the live feeds. I do go. Joker's updates. I have to shout out there. I do read those on there, and I've been doing that since forever. Like since I think probably early season 4 or 5. But I find it's good to know what's going on. It does spoil it a little, but I don't care.
I'm with you for sure. I know that I talk to some people sometimes, and like they don't really know what's happening, and they're only led by the narrative of the actual edited television show. So I just wanted to know where you were at. We'll maybe do like any spoilers, because I have heard some spoilers, and there's some kind of spoiler chats in the chat. So maybe we'll do that near the end, and then so just in case people do not want to hear what might be going on, they want to hear for the episode. So silly me, I was dilly dallying. I kind of mentioned this to you, and I didn't really watch the beginning of the episode because I was like, oh, let me go get some water and let me go make a little piece of toast. I missed the first 15 minutes. So you were saying that they kind of started talking about the head of household competition. So like the results, is that what you mean?
So the very first thing they started talking about was Kaiser's speech. Actually, was so they did a little flash of Kaiser's elimination and his speech, and they really focused on the Kaiser saying Cody was pretty much in everything, and they really put a focus on Cody saying that Nicole and Danny and him are in some sort of love
triangle. It was play on words, guys. Like
right.
You're in a throuple. You're in an entanglement. Like,
hey, he wanted to stir it up, and that got them like they got upset about it. So it worked. Like, good for him. That's great.
And disgusting and distasteful. Is that the word she used?
Disgusting and distasteful. She's never said a bad word before.
Oh, yeah, right. Now, what are your thoughts of Danny before and now? Is it changed?
So, season 8, hated Danny, but I did think she deserved to beat Dick because I thought she played a fair game. But then Big Brother 13, I fell in love with her. I thought her and Kalia, and Portia, I actually got behind them. I was like, they deserve, because they were like, well, why can't we play? And it's like, yeah, they should. And Danny had all that safety, so she got so bored and wanted to do something. But this season, I cannot stand her. I don't know what she's doing. I don't know why she's aligning with the people she's aligning with. It's not the Danny I remember.
Absolutely. I had such dreams. Yeah. I was like, oh man, with this season, imagine if Devon and Danielle and Janelle were this power 3 women, and they went to the end and they were the final 3. Oh. That was my dream. I was so excited. I was like, oh, if that's going to happen, this is going to be such a great season, because I agree with you. I found that, Danny was young. She's a little bit bratty in season 8. I really started to like her, and I was invested in her relationship with Dom, and I was so happy to hear that they started to the fact and got married and had a baby. So I was super excited to see her come back again. And I've been really disappointed with the direction that she wanted to take her game, with the people that she was aligning with, the fact that she was just being so disrespectful to Janelle, who really would have had her back. Janelle and Kaiser, they might not be the best game players in this particular scenario, but they are loyal to a fault. Look how loyal they were to Nicole Anthony, and it was to a detriment to their game. So the fact that she was turning their back on them really made me dislike her, and I'm assuming you're feeling the same.
Oh yeah, and I've actually noticed one thing with her, that she still has that she gets bored really fast of the game and wants things to happen. So it's like, I mean, those that do watch the live feeds, they're not showing things on the last couple of weeks, but she isn't completely all in with the people that she's aligned with. She is quite all over the place in her in what she's talking about doing, and that she's not quite happy with everybody. So I'm hoping that Danny comes and it mixes it up.
Right now, though, like the way I'm feeling is that I want Danny to be out like next.
Out. Yeah.
I just need her to get to come up
next.
Pardon?
Is she the one you want out the most?
I think so. I want her out. I want Nicole Franz out. I want Christmas out. And I'm always team ladies. I always want to root for the women. The women and the gay person is usually the people that I'm rooting for, and obviously the people of color. Right. Like these are the people that I'm always, either if I'm going to play a game, I'm going to gravitate towards. Always my alliance partners are always going to be either people of color, women, or gay men.
Yeah.
It's never the alpha guy, like alpha male. It's never that. And I really right now I want it to be a Cody Enzo. No, not Cody. Sorry, an Enzo Tyler final two is what I'm hoping for right now. That is coming a long way for me.
Yeah.
I didn't even like Tyler in his season, and now I'm growing to like him a little bit. He's going through a little bit of adversity this week. There's some stuff on the feeds that have happened that we'll talk about a little bit later about Tyler. But yeah, right now, I'm all in on Enzo and Tyler. That's who I want to do well, because I think they've been playing a consistent game, and they haven't been as nasty as everybody else. They're the least nasty people, I think, in the house so far, which is like, is that what we're judging by? Like, oh, you're I feel like he's the least. I mean, that's how Paul lost the game, is like people disliked.
Oh, completely. Both thought, yeah.
Are you a Paul fan?
No.
Okay, good.
No, I remember season 19, I was on a treadmill watching, and I almost fell off the treadmill laughing so hard. I was like, oh my God, Josh just won.
Wanting him to win for sure. Because I hated Paul. Not hate. No. I really didn't want Paul to win that much that I was willing to be hoping that Josh would take him out. Oh, so bad. I mean, do you know what though? So the original cast was supposed to have like Casey was supposed to be there, Paul was supposed to be there,
yeah,
was supposed to be there. There's always those rumors of Dan and Derek were supposed to also be there. If those huge heavyweights were in there, instead of some of these like Kevin and David and all these other people that weren't necessarily all stars, I think we would have had a season.
Yeah.
Janelle and Kaiser would have been able to have some sort of numbers. I could see, maybe Casey, Tyler, and Josh teaming up with Janelle and like making that like a power group of people. And they would have some people in front of them that were a little bit more of shiny objects. Like they're just they stand out too much. Way too much.
Too much. And I'm upset now with the cast a little bit when you're hearing about some of the people and how the connections are. Mm-hmm. I'm getting kind of like, this feels like it was already all set to go before the show started. Yeah. I feel like, but it's going to fall apart, hopefully, but I feel like, there's some people that are in there that were completely by themselves, and then there's some people in there that have been covered very well to stay for a long time.
And pretty much, Cody and Nicole Franzel, they're pretty much locked in. Obviously, Nicole Franzel and Danny are best friends apparently outside of the house. So
best friends.
Triplet, that throuple, that love triangle, they're just locked in. I know Cody has been talking a little bit about wanting to go after Danny, but I don't think he would ever pull the trigger on that one. I don't think that he would ever let that happen. He might let her go, but I don't think he would be the one that instigates that happening. And that's because of, I think, what they've developed before the game started. And I get that with All-Star season, you're going to have some sort of pre-gaming. Like, it's kind of hard to prevent that from happening completely, but it just when it's with the people that you aren't really liking at all. So the next episode. So I guess they showed Christmas winning or Davon losing.
Davon losing, Christmas winning, Nicole pushing past basically pushing Davon out of the way to get into a hug, which she has been doing every week, she says, but that's because your alliance has been winning every week. Maybe that's why you're excited.
And I don't know if you saw on the feeds as that Davon was kind of upset. Like she had like a little bit of a chat with Nicole being like, well, I just really felt like you were just happy that I lost, not that Christmas won. So do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, she was happy that Davon lost. So I think at that point she was thinking that Davon had turned against her, was because, I mean, Davon did make a big mistake. When Kaiser went, that hug that she gave Kaiser went on forever.
I know, I
was like, let him go because they're going to tie you to that. And, you know, then they were going back and forth with who was getting picked for that for that HOH. And I'm sure Nicole and Cody both were like, if Davon wins, we're going up. So she was happy about it, you know, and Nicole's not there to give Davon the money, even if she says she is. She's there to try and win, and everyone's against me, you know, like she does the nasal thing. And
everything's wine. The first scene that I did end up seeing was Christmas kind of complaining to Enzo about Davon coming up and having a chat with her about like Gabe and that. Now, I'm really frustrated about this because Christmas is kind of implying, she's like, oh, well, like Davon has never talked game to me before. But yes, she has kind of. When you know, what's it called? Jacer was all trying to rally the troops and trying to get everybody together. They were part of those conversations, and Davon and Christmas had separate conversations. So it's just kind of like I feel like the people are like, well, basically, when you're not in an alliance with me and we talk, because we're not an alliance, that it wasn't a game talk.
It's not game,
right?
Right. And we saw that last week with Enzo and saying that Ian wasn't talking to him, and then complained about Kaiser not talking. And then when they both came and talked, that he was to him, he was like, well, I didn't want to talk to them. Like, it's too late now. It's like, well, then what do you want? Like, I mean, do you want them to talk to you or not? Like,
no, but it's like you were never in an alliance with them. And anytime you probably did talk game because you didn't have the same agenda or because you were lying to them the whole time, is that you don't take that as being game talk because you didn't have a common like goal. And so it's just annoying that people are not letting people play the game because they already started their own alliance, and then blaming them when they're trying to like do something to save.
They're trying to survive. Yeah.
They're trying to survive. They're making fun of Janelle.
Go
ahead.
So when Davon, I was so like, oh my God, Davon's crushing this contest. She's going to win. She's going to win. She's going to win. Don't lose. And then she lost, and she went to the wrong podium. She had that first podium and she kept winning there. I was like, no, like you're not at the right podium. Something's going to happen. And she lost. As soon as Christmas won, she was like, oh, the Christmas challenge came out. She didn't do anything in that challenge. She didn't buzz in once. Like she did nothing to win that challenge.
People lost in order for her.
I was like, oh, well, Christmas is up. So here we go. It's time to officially start Big Brother 21 because her only options are 4 people at this point of who she's going to put up because she's got her alliance. She made a deal with Enzo, and she's already given Ian that safety suite thing and made a relationship there. So she's got the 4 people of color.
Of course.
And I knew it. That's her choice.
Obviously.
That's who she's got. I mean, yeah. And it was like, this is the start. This is how it's gonna go now. It's the same thing as last year.
It's exactly the same thing. And they had this implicit bias apparently before the season started. And so what was I kind of heard on the feeds a little bit is that maybe they didn't want to have the first person that went out be of color and maybe the second person, but now they think it's okay to allow the people of color to leave. And I don't think they really understand what the whole the biases is. It's that you tend to choose to keep people within the game that you want to play with that look most like you, and the people that don't look like you do not want to have an alliance with them that's real and make them do well and go further in the game. And so it's not waiting 3 weeks to evict someone that's black. It's working with them in the game and realizing that you can still make really good bonds and relationships with people that do not look like you. And so you said that the the slick six breaking up was part of what I didn't see. What did they show about that?
Right. So they were talking. So Davon mentioned, she goes, well, I thought we were all in this thing. Cody, you went after me first. Why was that? And Cody said, well, I was all freaked out, and you and Kaiser, and because Kevin picked Cody, and I guess he's worried because Davon hangs out with Kevin. So he used that as an excuse. So he's like, that's why I went after you, Davon. Like, I mean, they just kept, I think the realization for Davon and Bay was, oh, this isn't actually a real alliance. They were late to that realization. It would have been a real alliance if somebody in the Slick Six won this week, but like they didn't. So now it's not. So
it's kind of like with them. So beforehand, Kaiser was trying to gather the troops. And he's like, I made some really great headway with Ian. And Kevin was able to overhear this conversation, saying that he's been talking with Ian a lot and like he thinks he can bring Ian in. And Ian decides to run off over to Danny. Kevin ran over to Danny on the hammock and tells them the whole thing that Kaiser's getting close to Ian, and he wants to bring Ian in, and Danny goes to her alliance, and then they started that 4 Prime alliance. So then it made Ian feel a little bit more secure, and now they didn't have an extra person they can bring in to maybe flip the house. And so that's the same thing that they did with the Slick Six.
Kevin is interesting. Like, Kevin is very interesting this season in the sense that, like, I know he was with the people in Big Brother 11. The people he was with, he plotted a lot with them. They had like, oh, well, let's strategize. But I don't remember him being this person that had to go tell everybody everything that was going on. And this season, he just seems like he can't keep his mouth shut about like anything. Like, I mean, he's talking about things that don't even matter to the game, and he runs off and tells the next person. I don't get it. Like, if he gets to the end, I mean, it's a very interesting strategy because he basically is just throwing everybody under the bus with everything that they're saying. I don't know if he'll get any respect for that, but it's strange. I don't get it. He doesn't seem to be with anybody.
Well, he's with Nicole Franzel. Was with Nicole Franzel, and he had a little bit of a connection with Kaiser, but he started already bad-mouthing Kaiser, bad-mouthing Janelle. Before Kaiser left, I was really annoyed that him, Bailey, and Davon, I think, were the 3 that were kind of like wanting Kaiser to blow things up to leave for them. You know what I mean? It's like, can you blow this up just to help out in our game? And I'm like, you wouldn't help him out for 4 weeks in his game, and you want him to leave you like a little golden nugget? Like, he did. I think they left him a little golden nugget. He probably could have done a better job of blowing things up, but like he left them something to work with. But it's just been really frustrating to see that people are kind of figuring it out too late and deciding to make moves when it's too late. And it's really disappointing. Ian is being a bit disappointing. I don't know if you know like kind of the fallout as up to what's happening up until now too. Do you?
Yeah. I feel like, honestly, I feel like I don't understand how people can just be understanding what's going on when it's being presented to them so many times, time after time after time. Like, this is what's happening. This is the 4. This is happening. They're doing this. And like, nobody wants to listen. Ian, I think Ian, they're showing on the TV Ian in this dorky guy that's playing a different game than everybody else, but I don't quite buy it. I think he's being used quite well by everybody else. I don't think he's playing a great game.
Well, they were trying to show him on Wednesday or Thursday, him getting like the epiphany about, like, they didn't show it on the episode, but there was a bullhorn, a megaphone, whatever, someone yelling that Nicole and Cody are lying to everyone or something like that, or Nicole and Cody something about everybody. And so that kind of got Ian thinking a little bit about like, oh my God, Nicole and Ian are lying to everybody. What? Like, what's going on? And so then he has this whole big epiphany that they just showed the epiphany part of him like, oh, it's a big octopus, and like, there's different branches and different alliance, which is fairly true. Right. He doesn't have the exact makeup correctly, but it is a bunch of multiple alliance, and then there's kind of one nucleus, which is Nicole and Cody. I would say that Danny and Enzo are part of that 4 as well. I think the core 4 is pretty much ruling everything, we'll say, but they kind of want to kick Danny out. We get that. But I think that they're still going to keep strong to that as long as they can. And so when Kaiser blows everything up and then there's all that fallout, apparently it triggered Ian's anxiety. And he had like some sort of episode, and he went to the diary room and he was actually trying to self-evict. He didn't want to be part of the game anymore, and he didn't want to play anymore.
I heard that.
And he did decide to play, but I didn't remember even seeing him on this episode at all. Did you see him?
No, he wasn't really a factor in tonight's episode. I think he talked a little bit about the dark room. I think that was the only thing we saw him a little bit, but that it was like a nothing quote. But yeah, there was nothing about him having anxiety and stressing out or anything like that.
And obviously, they don't want to maybe show anybody's medical situation, so I can understand that. But he just was he was a big part of Thursday night's episode, and then he was barely a blip. He was getting the David edit on this. Actually, David got a huge edit comparatively this episode. We'll probably get to why in a moment. One thing that really annoyed me was just how gullible Christmas is, and like she just wants to be part of the cool kids and like hang with the boys. When Enzo is talking to her and is like, oh yeah, me and you are the same, we're on the same page, and like just how they're talking about this team, and I want to get my team to like final 6, and like it frustrates me because Christmas doesn't have a game mentality. She only has a team mentality just to final 6. Like getting to final 6 isn't necessarily the right path for you to win the game. And it just frustrates me.
She said, if you're going after any of my people, I have to go after you. Well, that's not true. If people are going after some of your people, sometimes that's good for you because you're not getting blood on your hands. Like, that's great. We're going into, after this week, we'll be at 11.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at some point, you got to get rid of one of your 6. Like, you don't want to go to 6 and then make the decision.
Exactly. I mean, we're both gamers. We are going to strategize. We're going to try to figure out what's our best path. Like, we're going to know that we need the people that are in our 6. We're probably going to need to turn on them or get someone to turn on them. Like, we would be thinking so many steps ahead as to like maneuver. And it just seems that everybody else only really has like one idea of how to play the game. And like, I know if I was in that house, I would be thinking of the strategy if every single person, if like every single permutation of like, okay, if this person wins the head of household and she nominates this person, like what would happen? And if they used it, like I would do that for every single possible scenario, which is insane, I know, but like thousands of scenarios I would have like going through my head at all times. And so I would know when Kaiser and Janelle come and talk to be like, they're right, 100%. We need to do something right now. This is our last shot to be able to do anything.
Because if you're thinking, you'll know Kaiser and Janelle will get in trouble for it, not you. If you do it the right way, you could get them in trouble, not you, for making the move.
Of course. Like I'm sorry, they would take the blame for everything, but they wouldn't mind it. That's another thing too. They wouldn't mind being out in front. They know that they are a huge shield, and that's the fact that nobody wants to take advantage of that is crazy. It's just like it just blows my mind. And the fact that Christmas is getting out people that aren't really going to hurt her game. They were never coming for her. And as you were saying, they're coming for people in her alliance. Well, like, let them come for people in your alliance. Take out people that might be coming for you. You know what I mean? Because people are not going to be caring about Christmas as much as she's caring about them.
No. Of the 6, I'm sure the other 5 think of Christmas as the floater in their 6.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's won a challenge where she didn't have to do anything to win it. The other challenge last time she played that she won was the running challenge that she didn't have to do anything to win. Mm-hmm. Like, she's not known as a challenge beast. She's known as being there.
Being there, lucking out and just lucking out. Like everyone gave her the safety suite. She's got that safety. She did win the one on her own where you're balancing on the tray. So yes, she's won that competition.
Right.
And as we start to talk to now, so Christmas comes in and announces the BB basement competition, where basically they're going upstairs to the basement. They're going to be fiddling around in the dark to find these puzzle pieces, and they have to put these puzzle pieces in a podium according to their shape. And so what do you think about this competition in general?
I don't mind them. I feel like I actually feel like it is a fair challenge because everybody's sort of in there at the same time. So there's not really like much help you can give each other in a challenge like that. But I don't know. It's something interesting to watch. It's funny. I think that for the TV show, I think the young people that watch it, they probably think it's a funny thing to watch, and that's always good. For a season where they're probably not going to be able to go too crazy with things because of COVID and bringing in people to build stuff and that. I think this is a good one. But yeah. What about you? Did you like it or?
I didn't mind it. I've seen worse challenges, of course, in the Big Brother game. I like that it gave everybody pretty much equal opportunity there. I like being able to watch it in real time. Like, I'm not really that excited about competition. So the fact that it's part of the episode and it was just an additional thing within the episode, I liked that. Like, I don't need for there to be a cliffhanger for the head of household competition. Like, I don't care at all. Like, just like finish it up. Like, I want to know who the new power is. That's not where the excitement comes from me. It's like seeing what people do with the new power is. So let's make it happen quicker. So I like being able to watch it. I feel like there was a lot of gameplay that they missed out on showing because of it. There's a lot of things that have been going on in the house and a lot of conversations that have been happening that I would have liked to have be shown because, people don't really understand what is going on in the actual house. So they're only seeing this edited version. And then they're like, oh, I love Danny. And you're like, oh, of course you love Danny because they're giving you a I love Danny edit.
Or let's be honest. Like, I mean, Tyler gets a golden edit like crazy, but Tyler is telling people to put up Bay and Day and telling them to get rid of one of them. Like, I mean,
well, now that wasn't happening.
Now he is. Yeah, but it is. Some people get really great edits in the show. Nicole Franzel definitely gets a great edit in the show compared to if you watch the feeds. I think people would be more understanding why people find her irritating.
Oh my God, they were going to be like, oh my God, get her off the screen. So there were a few times where, like, in the BB basement where we saw people, like David had the piece at one point and he put it in, it didn't fit, and he put it down. I, in that moment, thought that he had the right piece, but now I'm realizing it might have been too big. And so I thought he put down the wrong or the right piece, but it seems like he didn't. One thing, though, about this whole competition is, like, I knew from the live feeds that Christmas won one and Danny won one because Danny was crying a lot more in the house about how crappy her power was and that she hates it and it was so stupid, and she was in the diary room. They didn't even show that at all. Like, she was being very like a petulant child, so ungrateful for this power that she won. Like, I don't even win anything, so what is this use for me? And like just crying about it. So she's crying about the power that she won. And there's people that are on the block that are going to go home and you're crying about a power that you won that you probably won't even need to use. Right. Okay. Right. And then Christmas was talking. She immediately tells Tyler about it. We get shown this in the episode, but we did hear it on the live feeds as well. But I didn't know until the episode that David won the third power. So I was very impressed that he kept his mouth shut. What did you think about it?
I thought that was great. I actually, I said to my husband when I watched it, I was like, well, in this case, it's got to be Kevin, who doesn't seem to be able to keep anything to himself, or it's David who has it. It has to be one of those two because everybody else, I think, would spill. And I'm actually happy. I'm hopeful that David can do something. My worry is, just because of how David is coming across in this, he's going to blow it with this power. But I'm hopeful. I'm really hopeful that he can make it work. I don't know if he'll use it. I don't think it's probably in his best interest to use it right now because there'd still be 2 weeks where he could go up. And really, I think you'd want to use it as a security in case yourself goes up.
I know.
I don't know.
I'm of two minds with his power. So I think it's very beneficial for him to keep both Bailey and Devon in the house. But there's no way that he can guarantee that he's not going to go up as a replacement. If he knew for a fact that he wasn't going to go up for a replacement, I don't remember if he made any sort of agreement with Christmas or not. But if that was the case, because he's doing this in secrecy. So
Yeah.
it would definitely cause some dissension, which would be very interesting. If he took down Bailey, that would be really interesting, because what has been happening in the feeds up until tonight is that it's looking like Bailey is the target now. It was going to be Devon the target, and now it's going to be Bailey the target, because they are using some microaggressions, in my opinion, to make Bailey look like a loose cannon and somebody that's like dangerous. Did they show this on the episode, or did I just see a clip of Christmas scared that she's going to stab her in the eye with a fork and something else? Did they say on the episode, or was that on a feed?
They said I think Christmas said she didn't know how both of them were going to react to it. There was a part in the episode, and I might be jumping ahead here, where Danny and Bailey did talk, and Bailey got a little upset, and they showed Bailey getting upset and Tyler and Enzo trying to calm her down. I mean, Bailey in her previous season, she unfortunately she was never really in too much control in that season either, and it gets frustrating. I'm sure it's very frustrating for them. This the way that they've sort of been pushed to be together, and then they get told, well, you guys are always together. And it's like, well, you didn't try to get them away from each other. So I can imagine why it's so frustrating for Bailey. And when people are saying that she's going to stress out or get crazy or that, that just enhances, that makes it more like, and I feel bad for her, because she I don't know if because there was a lot of why is Bailey on this season. She was one of those people that got that, and I was hopeful that she was going to be able to change it, like her edit. It hasn't changed tons, but I really like her. Like, I think she's feisty. She wants to play. She's got great energy with her. I think that she is the wrong one to take out, but I am a giant Day fan. Like, Day, I want Day to win. I'm still thinking she's going to. But I think Day's more dangerous to everybody. I think she's got some connections in there. But it does sort of cut Tyler up a bit if Bay goes. So
absolutely. Well, this is the thing with Bailey. I always support the people of color for sure. What I found in her season with Tyler, that she became unhinged, which was uncomfortable for me to watch. I don't find that to be good television when someone has an emotional outburst like that, that sort of that like capacity. Yes, people can be passionate. Yes, people can be angry. Yes, people can be enraged. Yeah. That's totally fine to have all the colors of being able to express yourself. I felt watching her in her first season that it made me uncomfortable. When I feel uncomfortable when I'm seeing this, then I think that it needs to be taken to a professional level. You know what I mean? It's just a little bit too far for me to be able to watch and not feel like I need to help this person. She's being put in harm's way here. And so on the challenge, do you watch the challenge?
I don't, but I've seen clips. I've seen clips of Bailey on the challenge. Yes.
So, I'm a challenge fan. I watch the challenge pretty regularly. And when I saw that a similar kind of reaction happen, I was like, I don't know if this is the environment for Bailey, because it brings up feelings of being, people taking advantage of her and like any sort of microaggressions that she's received in her entire life. It brings up a lot of these things that she doesn't seem to know how to process in a way that is not, in my opinion, looking as though it's really bad for her and very dangerous for her. And so I was really hesitant with her coming into the house, because she's going to be put in the house with Tyler, and he's a person that was able to trigger these kind of reactions out of her. And I thought she's been great this whole season. It completely made me, I was pro Bailey. I was like, yes, Bailey, you're so awesome this season. I'm enjoying watching you. Like, I thought she was I liked seeing this side of Bailey for sure. Yeah. But I can understand from the house guest perspective that they don't necessarily want to see her blow. But I can also understand from Bailey's perspective that is also a narrative that she gets from being a person of color. So I think it's two things, is that her reactions are I think a little bit uncomfortable to participate in, but then also she gets these microaggressions that kind of stimulates that these house guests kind of bring up in her. And so I felt really terrible for her at the end of this episode, because I understand, I've been in that position many times in my life. I would be doing nothing and people tell me like, why are you yelling at me? And I'm like, well, you haven't seen me yell yet. It's like,
yeah,
I'm not yelling. Or like, you know, acting like a monkey and like, and saying like, I'm, you know, I've just had a lot of terrible microaggressions happen to me. So I can understand what it feels like to not want to react, and not want to react too loudly because of the way that you're going to be perceived. And so when Danny was standing and Bailey's sitting on the bed, and Danny's coming to her and telling her like, well, why would you do this? And why would you do that? And I felt that Bailey was being extremely calm and extremely reasonable about how she was responding to Danny. And Danny immediately goes, brings on the tears, and tells, I believe it was Christmas, that, oh my God, she cornered me. How is she being cornered when Danny went to her and she's sitting on the bed, and I just don't want any animosity. Like, I don't want any fighting. Like, and it's like, well, Danny, you were targeting her, and she just told you how she was
started. Yep.
Started it, and then she's now going to cry and be like, oh my God, she's like, I don't want there to be big fights in the house. And so they're using the threat of Bailey maybe having a reaction to them being kind of shitty to her. Like, they're using it as like, cry, cry, cry. I just want the house to be like a really calm situation. So I was feeling for Bailey for sure, and I wasn't really happy with it. Go ahead.
No, and I have to say, like, going back to something that you said a little bit earlier with Ian about how they wouldn't show that, and they don't like to show that, the editors don't. I actually feel like they don't like to show that for the guys.
Mm-hmm.
In Big Brother history, there's been a lot of, unfortunately, they call them meltdowns done by women, which I don't necessarily think were great for, like, if you know Bailey from the last season, it has that tendency. And as you said, she was on the challenge and has it. Maybe that's not the scene to show on the TV show. You made the choice not to show the Ian thing. So why are we showing the Bailey thing? Like, I mean, they definitely, they find a way to go over things and the story still gets told. But, you know, I can remember people like Chima, you know, that was shown on Chima. And she had a history before being on the show of stuff. And they showed that complete thing. Girls, I remember Big Brother 9, I think Amanda, she had some stuff, and they were showing that, and I even think the other girl in the Allison had some stuff. Like,
I remember season 9 blocked it out. I remember the guy Allison, I think it was, but that's about it.
But they just like they seem to, they don't mind it if it's the women, because I guess it's good television. But you know, I kind of feel bad even now, knowing more that there was some issue on the challenge as well, that they're willing to sort of portray Bailey like that, because it's not fair.
It really isn't fair, and it's kind of like, it's actually, in my opinion, reinforcing the narrative that Black people are scary and Black people are aggressive by showing these little scenes, and then showing the white person who actually started it crying and being like, well, I don't want there to be any drama or animosity. It's just a game. And it's like, well, it's not just a game. You're targeting them. You're doing these little microaggressions to make them blow up. Then they're airing these blow-ups and making it look, in my opinion, as though the people that are the aggressors are the ones that are being targeted. And I think it's really, really unfair. And I think it's really lazy on the part of CBS to be portraying things in this way. Like, really.
I have to ask, why do you think, after last season's Big Brother, the world that we're in right now, especially in the States with all of this stuff, the house guests come into the house, not one of them says to themselves, at least, you know what, if I'm going to have an alliance, and it's going to be a big one, I should make sure there's at least one person of color in this alliance.
They did say that, and that's part of why they wanted to do the Slick Six, was kind of like, oh, we have like as like, you know, we have some people of color in there. I think it was Cody that said something to that effect of like, we'll cover our bases there or something like that. So
I don't understand why people like. I get that maybe like there's people out there that are like, oh well, people are different than me, so I don't know if I can work with them. But you know, the odds for people going in there are already stacked against people. You know, can we try and just be open and give people a fair chance to play and win this game? It bothers me, and I can imagine it bothers so many people that, like, you know, why is there always, if most of the seasons when it's a black guy in the show, how come it's always they're either black but they're religious, or they're black and they're gay? Like, doesn't make sense to me. Can we like have like where are the black guys? Are they not applying? I don't know. Maybe they know better not to apply because they're going to get treated.
Well, that's true. You know, casting, they tend to be do specific stereotypes, and so they haven't really been open-minded enough to see that there are black people, we'll say, that are different than the stereotypes. They don't seem to understand how to cast that, and so I think that the problem in that regard is with casting. A lot of scenes that I was seeing within the house with Bailey, and I was feeling just really bad. There was like a scene where Bailey was crying, and she's crying to Devon, being like, why are we always the minorities? Why are we always just fighting just to say, like, just to be here? We're fighting so hard. Like, why can't we ever be the minorities in these kind of situations? Like, she's like, it really hurts my soul, the fact that like I always have to fight this hard to be here. And if I fight too hard, then I look aggressive. And if I have to just play, I just have to keep small and just like, hopefully they'll let me stay a little bit longer. And like, this is me kind of adding on to like how she's feeling. But like, that's how I've felt in playing many different these types of games, is that like I've figured out how to maneuver myself in the world, usually being the only person of color, or especially woman of color, playing any of these games. It's pretty much usually just me. And so like, I totally understand where she's coming from. I definitely have figured out for myself how to maneuver, but I can totally understand how it could be difficult coming into that situation and trying to penetrate these big alliances without your color being something that prevents you from making the connections that you need to do better in the game. And now what's so frustrating though, is that Tyler is even saying things like, well, like they're just mad that they have bad gameplay. And I'm like, I wish that Tyler didn't say that, because I do want to be Team Tyler, but that's a really, really like white privilege way to have like a
what's going on. Yep.
Their bad gameplay also has to do with the fact that their skin isn't white. If they had white skin, they wouldn't be in the same position that they are right now, because they would have more likely been able to be part of the larger alliance. They would more likely have been able to be making the game decisions and not be on the outskirts from the very beginning. And so I thought it was just a very white privilege, narrow-minded perspective that Tyler had about kind of the position that Daily, well, Daily, if we want to give them a nickname, we're going to learn that they're in at the end of this episode. So it's definitely been really frustrating. So do you think that, you know, is there any way that David could use this power that would be able to work for it to
with the catch of him not knowing that, like, like from what I got out of it, he's not safe if he uses it himself.
Maybe put up Kevin, maybe?
I mean, that would be the thing. They'd have to get somebody in trouble that would go up there and David could use it. But it's a big what if, and you know, they've got to find somebody that they can put some blame on to something that would really piss Christmas off. And I don't know what pisses Christmas off. She doesn't seem to react to anything. Like, I don't know. She goes with, like, Christmas was, this was the plan that Paul told me it was. I'm not changing this plan at all.
Right.
She doesn't change. So it's an awful person to be HOH this week for this situation. I do think that they probably, if any of them were in this, they would have put those two on the block anyways. Mm-hmm. I think because the rumblings were there. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be tough, because I think Christmas just wants to be accepted by her group.
So, Stacy in the chat, she was saying a little while ago, but I think it's pertinent now. There was a comment, that Christmas made about like being scared that Bailey's going to stab her in the eye with a fork, or that something like very aggressive type of response. They didn't show it in the episode of Christmas saying it, but this is the mentality of people that are in the house, that are in a position of power, that are targeting the only two people of color, or Black women of color in the house, saying that they're potentially going to be dangerous when she's scared for her life, and she doesn't get scared easily. She doesn't get spooked easily because she's going to be nominating these two women. And I'm like, that's a microaggression, and that is
big time
far from being true. You've never seen an example of them being physically violent with a person. Like,
no. Hey, we saw Bailey one season have a meltdown, but that meltdown was on herself, right? She didn't have, like, go after anybody. She didn't attack people.
No, she just yelled. She's a bark. But
never seen Dave Vaughn do anything like that. I from my history of watching Dave Vaughn, I've never heard of her like even threatening people. Like,
maybe like a really hard eye roll.
Yeah,
that's about
she beats you down with her words because she's a genius.
Yeah, eye roll. That's it. A diary room session. But like, Stacey's saying that Christmas is malicious, and like I do think Christmas is a bit malicious. If you've been following kind of the BB world, Christmas actually, she, if I'm not mistaken about the scenario, she was pregnant and she hit the car of her baby daddy's like side piece, who was also pregnant, I think at the same time, and got into an altercation with that other person and like threw an iced latte or something like that. And so she was charged, and she has a mugshot that's going around right now. Is Christmas. And the aggressor here is Bailey and Davon, who, as far as I know, don't have any sort of criminal records or had to have fingerprints or any sort of aggressive behavior that they have been involved in. And so it's just very interesting, the people that are calling the names out are people that have had some similar circumstances that they're afraid of, Yeah. What's Jonathan saying here? So Jonathan says Tyler being able to convince Bae not to say it was him who told her the info about Danny is a skill. Yes, I think Tyler is doing really well.
Great job.
I feel as though with how he was dealing with Bailey, I can understand why Bailey was being a little bit frustrated, because Tyler used the word like, and then you blew up on her or something, or like you attacked her, and like we saw what Bailey was doing, and Bailey really didn't do any sort of attacking. Maybe she should have kept her mouth shut, but she was trying to have a conversation with Danny, being like, yeah, well, I heard that you were coming after me, and then you put me and Davon up, the two of us in the last competition. So I just felt that you were coming for me, and that's why I kind of been a little bit standoffish. And that's, I think, is a very normal response.
I've got to say that Tyler, in addition to that, I believe it was like a week or two ago when he made a mistake and told David something, and David told people. The way Tyler turned that around onto David and made David feel bad, and still go to like Bae and Day and say, what's David talking about? Even though it was him who was like doing it. Like, I mean, they fell for it too, and they were all like, yeah, David, what's wrong with David?
Right. I know. And David, I mean, with like asking for currency from Janelle, being like, well, I don't really know, but like, I don't really have, your track record here isn't good. And she's like, well, have you seen my seasons? I've been on this show for 200 episodes, or 200 days. I've been in this Big Brother house. I've been in so many episodes. If you did a little bit of homework, you would know that I'm loyal to the soil, and you'd know how to use her as a piece. Nobody used Janelle and Kaiser as a piece. It's kind of like they had something that was too like, wow, this is too good of a piece to use. Let me get it and let me just play the basic game. I want to play the base game, because if I use them, it might become too complicated, and it might become too like I'd have to like strategize too much, and like they're better at strategizing for me. So let me get rid of like the good strategy pieces, and let me just play with like the simpletons that like, we could just divide the house or just have a major alliance and just pick people off that we don't like, or the people of color. Same thing usually.
I think one person that's impressing me, and I don't like them, I'm not a big fan of them, is Enzo, because he does seem to be I don't know. I feel like he's sort of opening his game up more than just playing with the guys. Like, I do feel like his Christmas thing is a little bit like he's using her for the right way to make it work for his game. So watching him, like when he was talking with Danny, he's like, I don't want to get into this. So with the Bailey thing and him talking with Christmas and sort of strategizing, like, it's your HOH. What do you want to do? I think he's doing a good job getting in there. Cody even seems to, I think, really might want to go with Enzo to the end, which might be a mistake for Cody if he does that. That might be one way Cody will lose if he goes is with Enzo. So maybe he'll do that if we get to that. Not that I want Enzo to win, but
no. Right now, this is my winner pick. Do you do the stock watch with Rob has a podcast? The reality stock.
No.
So basically, you get like $200, and it's not your own money; it's like play money. And you buy different stocks of the different house guests. And each week they do a stock watch. And so they ask for rankings of the players. And then they kind of discuss all the players and their rankings. And then they turn those rankings into the value of the players dollar wise. And so, people's values are going up and people's values are going down. And so right now I only bought 10 Enzo stock in the beginning, but like that one is like matured. I think they started off at how much was it a piece? I think it was $5 a piece. And so now Enzo, I think, is at like $16 a piece. So it's definitely good that I have that, but I just sent it to other people that are like doing really bad. And so now I have a lot of stock in Ian because I had stock in Kaiser, hoping that Kaiser staying would be able to like, okay, if he stays, like he'll be able to turn things around and maybe he can make a move. Obviously that didn't happen. So I sold my Kaiser stock to another stock, which was Ian. So Ian's stock was low. So I have like 15 Ian stocks and I'm hoping that it will go up.
Oh my God.
But I just don't know if it will before, because like if I have to dump all that stock, it's going to suck. I'm hoping that it'll go up and then I can sell it and then just go all in on Enzo. The only people that have high stock right now, Cody and Tyler.
Yeah, which I think everybody would agree. That's the three. Those would be the three to put the stock into for sure right now because they seem pretty cushy. There doesn't seem to be much drama about those three.
Well, yeah, they're in a really great position. I mean, Tyler right now is facing some adversity. So what's been going on? So obviously, like he was exposed a little bit. I love the part though when Danny calls out Enzo, being like, "Did you hear about this?" And Enzo didn't lie for Danny. Like I was like, yes, like he did a really good thing there. I thought it was great, but I think it also sealed Bailey's fate because obviously now Danny's gonna want to get Bailey out because she knows the truth that she was coming for her, so she doesn't want to leave Bailey in the house with Bailey having that knowledge and that idea that she was actually coming for her, or that there was rumblings about it. That wasn't just like a complete falsity. I guess we'll just talk maybe about spoilers now. So if you don't want any spoilers, we talked about the whole episode, like spoiler alert. And Dave Bond.
Yeah, I think we got everything out there. How did you think Christmas did her reveal of who she was putting on? What did you think of that?
Did she do anything?
Well, because she said she said, "Bae, I put you and your partner up because you said how close you were," and then Jay said, "Wait a minute, so you put me up because I was close to her." I was like, "Go Bae, go Day."
Hold on. Okay, so I put Christmas nominating Bae and Day, surprise, surprise. And then I said nominated Bae because Day is her untouchable. And then Day said, "You're nominating me because I'm her untouchable," which I think is obviously it's like, okay, so the target is Bailey. Is that what you're saying? And that like, I'm just her untouchable. So you're nominating me. Anyways, I was annoyed, obviously. And you know what I was even more annoyed about? That she made that move and then is crying about it after.
Crying in the back. Yeah.
About it after. Please. Yeah. Like, I think that's also almost insulting. It's like, I just couldn't do it. I'm sorry. Like, if you feel that bad, then make another decision.
Well, and if this is truly game, then like, come on, you're playing a game. This is your second time. You have to make these moves. It's game. But if there's some emotional reason into your nominations and you're not telling people, then you got to like be honest about that. What is that reason? Like, I know that she's probably feeling that pressure about why she's nominated people, but if you can do it in a way where it's not about something else, it's the right reason in the game.
Well, why?
But she's got to make that clear.
Let's unpack this. Why is she crying?
I don't know.
Honestly,
go
ahead.
Yeah.
You don't know?
I feel like she's crying because she thinks that she needs to prove to the viewers. I don't know if they're real tears, but she needs to prove to the viewers that she cares about them, and it isn't about the race thing. Like that's what I think it is. I think it's a show. I don't think she was really crying, and
she might have really been crying because she realizes subconsciously maybe that she's actually doing a bad thing. Like, if anybody in the house realized how they're being perceived right now, they would be shutting down their gameplay completely. But they feel as though, because it's all under the guise of a game, that they don't realize that they're still doing the things that show up in the real world. They are still putting people in Camp Comeback, basically. Why are you putting the two black girls on the block? Now you've created the narrative that they've done these things, that they deserve to be on the block. So, starting off with, I don't know if they showed on the episode, but Bailey said to Nicole Franzel, oh yeah, it took like a couple of tries for you to win. Like, she said something like that, but they were talking about this. Yeah. And she just kind of said it in a phrase. And I think even Nicole said it that way beforehand, and Bailey just repeated it. And then Nicole had this crazy meltdown over the fact that this is the narrative that she has outside the house, and she's been trying to overcome it, and then crying. And so then she's upset with Bailey now over this, which is like, oh, now I have a reason to target Bailey because she said this thing to me and made me upset. So now I have a reason. And so I feel like they've just always been trying to find reasons to make it look like game reasons, that it's not race. But I think it was always bubbling underneath the surface, the race thing. And whether they could see it subconsciously or consciously or not, it was always there. And they were just finding reasons to make it pretend it wasn't there.
I'm gonna say, in Christmas's defense, this was going to be these two, in my opinion, were going to be going up regardless. It was all 6 of them. They were going up. Christmas is just the person who was put into this situation. This isn't Christmas's plan to put them up. And all this. This was happening no matter what, because of the 6
to follow through with this action. And maybe that's where the tears are coming from, is that she's making a group decision that is not necessarily a morally sound decision, but she's doing it for the game and for her group. But it's kind of like, okay, so if your group wanted to completely jump and start beating up on somebody 6-1, would you jump in on that because your group is saying that or not? And that's kind of like, this group mentality.
Well, Christmas might.
What'd you say?
Christmas might. Christmas might jump in because this is how she does her game.
I mean, throw a little iced coffee in someone's face, ram them with her car. Who knows what she will do? So yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, that they were going to go up no matter what, but I'm saying that she was also the head of household, and she was saying no, this is what word did she use? She was kind of saying she makes the decision for the whole house, the whole group. She doesn't have her own opinion and her own autonomy in how she's making her choices. And it's actually, no, that's not what head of household is. Head of household actually is for you to set yourself up in the best position for yourself moving forward so you can win the game. It's not for you to get your group to final 6. It's not.
Or at least it was from Big Brother 1 to 14, 15. I don't know. The game's changed so much now to this whole kumbaya. We have to do everything one way, and it's always the same people that are always in charge, it seems.
It's so boring, and it's just so bad. And I just don't know why production doesn't want to step in and change things up. They had to be able to see that this was the trajectory that it was going from when Keisha went out the door. Like they've had a month now to be seeing the direction of the game. Like, do they not go on Twitter? That like Twitter is like lit of people saying that they hate the season. It's the worst season that they've ever watched. They're tuning out. They're not going to watch anymore. It's racist. It's the same thing over and over again. It's always just lining up for the white people and the white men to win this game. Like, what is going on? Why are they not seeing this? They have an opportunity to change things. Like, they have to do something.
Why is there this season now we don't have an America's vote? Because I know, like, America at this point, I feel, would be like voting for Day.
Day or like, the votes.
Yeah, like.
I guess the votes, America's votes. What do you think? Okay, I think that it would go. First up would be Davon would get America's votes, or maybe Bailey first because she'll get Janelle's votes, and then Davon, and then Ian, and then Tyler.
And then Tyler would be up there too. Yeah.
Tyler, and then Enzo, and then maybe.
Well, and if there's just the people watching the show, if it's just the people watching the show, Nicole Franzel will get votes. Because that's the problem with America's vote sometimes is the people that actually call in, because we get those feeds for free. We try it. We're not going to spend money. But the people that watch it on the TV, they call in and it's like, get me Chicken George. I want Chicken George.
I think so this time around that people, the super fans, are so outraged that they want to make a point. And I think that they would be petitioned and people like, you got to vote, making sure you vote. Like, I think that the super fans would step in here because they want production to step in. They want something to be changed. Like, there's these 3 new powers, and the only one that I'm kind of interested in what they do with it is David. I bet you any money that Christmas and Danny will not even need to use their power. They won't need to. Because they're set up in a way that there's enough targets in the next 3 weeks that it won't be them. Like, it's going to be most likely right now, David, Kevin, and maybe Tyler or Ian are the next 4 kind of that are on the chopping block.
Yep.
So Christmas and Danny are not going to need to use their thing. At least David does have that option to take himself off. Can he do that after the veto?
It was... No, I thought he had to announce it before the nominations, and it would last through that week.
The reason why I'm asking, because like if he wins the veto and can take himself off, then he could save it for the next week, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Right. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I mean that would be a better power.
Well, and the thing that sucks about that power is really the only good time that works is if David is left and it's the whole other alliance, and then David takes himself off or something, and then they have to vote out the alliance. They've got themselves into this position now because David doesn't get saved by that necessarily. So if he saves somebody, they're probably going to put David up. Like, yeah, it's a pain.
It's really bad. And you know what's also really frustrating? Before kind of these things that happened with Danny and Bailey, it looked as though Davon was more so the target because Tyler, Enzo, Cody, they all wanted to keep Bailey more so. And so I was just being reminded of when Kaiser and Janelle were begging Davon to keep Nicole Anthony, and what she was standing in her conviction, and I support her 100% in wanting to keep David in the house because he was wanted. There's never been that many people of color in the house at the same time. I support that 100%, and she wanted to get to the final three people of color. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, man, like this is amazing what she's fighting for, but it's not going to happen in this game. Like she needed to just be fighting for herself here. And it just sucks that she has to be championing for making history and making, a movement of having like more than one person of color get into the jury. Like that's never happened, I don't think, before, if I can think of it. And her wanting to make something like that happen and keeping David in the house, and that she didn't want to vote out a black man out of the game, that is actually going to end up most likely being a detriment to her game. It would have been much more beneficial to her game if she kept Nicole Anthony, because at least it would have been a number of somebody that she could work with. David is not really workable with because he doesn't understand the game. He doesn't know how to play. You can't rely on his numbers. You can't rely on what he has to say about things. He's just not a good piece to have as your ally. And so I wish she didn't spend her emotional capital on this man, David, when it's not actually helpful for her.
Because Nicole, not even would she be an extra number, she'd also be another target. Like, David is not a target. Yeah. So keeping him there is bad for Dave, because everybody's like, I'm not going to bother wasting my HOH on getting David out. He doesn't know what the heck's going on. And the truth is, nobody's respecting him enough that even if he gets to the end, he's got a real uphill battle to prove that he deserves to win.
He doesn't even know how to make a speech, I don't think. I don't even think he would be able to lay out his game. Have you seen all the feeds talk about him having 189 IQ?
I didn't understand now, did he bring that up or where did that come from?
But I think that he might have brought up that he had, maybe when they're doing their psych tests, that he was told that he has a really high IQ. Okay. I mean, if he does,
that doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me, because a lot of people also with that doesn't mean anything in Big Brother. You have to be able to be social, and and people with high IQs aren't usually the best.
Sorry, I didn't hear the last bit.
People with high IQs aren't always the most social people. They're book smart or they're very smart on certain things, but when it comes to gelling with a group of people who aren't on the same wavelength as you, it doesn't work. So
absolutely. My friend's father growing up, my best friend, he was a super uber genius. I think his IQ was the same as David's, 180 or 190. And he was such a strange man, but so smart. He was teaching us when we were 12 years old how to do cryptic crossword puzzles, when we're 12, and he's talking about this, or he's a scholar, and you're just who are you? You're just he'd answer the door because he has just it just didn't matter, and I don't know, it's just he was so eccentric. I just remember because you're I'm single, is naked. She's cash upstairs. It's just, anyways. He definitely. It was very.
That's why you should be on the show. That's why you should be on the show. That story, just the theatrics there. That's funny. That's good TV.
I mean, I got a ton of stories. Let me tell you. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about spoilers. So Greg, he put up, so is this real? Okay, so what has been going on in the house? I don't know if you noticed right after the episode, is that Tyler was kind of blowing up his own game and saying that he didn't want to be there anymore, and he was also threatening to self-evict. So is this real? Tyler is going to ask to have the veto used to be on him as a replacement nom and self-evict. I have been hearing rumblings of this. I haven't obviously gone deep into it because we came and started chatting, but have you heard anything about this?
Not huge, but I do know early. It was difficult for them to get Tyler to actually say yes to be on the show. I know that he actually had Angela was the one who told him first that he could be called CBS and said, "Oh, he'll do it." So I don't know if he necessarily wants to be there. He has been, from what I've heard, been missing Angela quite a bit. I don't know if this is necessarily. I think that might be more of a reason why he would self-evict as opposed to the game. He might just be I don't want to do this because I want to go home.
Well, he was also talking a lot on the feeds about how he hates everybody there. He hates this house. He hates all the people. And you know what? I can understand why he would hate these people. I really wish that, I've said it many times, that he just had played with Janelle and Kaiser, because he would have enjoyed that game a little better. It would be a little more honest. It'll be a little more upfront. And I don't know if you were watching this week, but there's another podcaster that I listened to, Jolene. She had Howie on her podcast show. And Howie what he loves about Big Brother. And he's like, it's kind of like a sports game when, you know, you're at the Super Bowl and like, you know, your team is winning and then the other team gets the ball and then they make a touchdown and just going back and forth the entire game. That's what's exciting. He's like, that's what Big Brother is. And that's the game that Janelle and Kaiser wants to play. And I think that Tyler would have enjoyed that game a little bit more than like sneaking around and lying and making final twos and, you know, getting caught in lies and getting out of them. Like, yes, he's good at doing that, but I think that it's also really taxing and like, you know, hurting Bailey's feelings when he didn't really mean to, because what he was saying was true and they're spinning his words and now they're coming after him. Like, you know, it can be exhausting to win the game with the type of people that are playing in the house right now. They're being very sneaky and they're lying a lot and then they are blaming a lot. And it's, I can understand why it would be really frustrating. So Gregory, I don't know if he's actually going to self-evict. I think you even mentioned next. So they cut production. Okay. So stars, and are probably going to talk Tyler out of it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's good. I don't want to see anybody self-evict or like get them to use the veto to take him out. Like regardless of how poor the game is going, in my opinion, like I really like Janelle would have done anything to be in that position, to be there. Kaiser would have done anything to be there. Even Nicole, Anthony, and Keisha would have loved to be in that position that Tyler is in right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it would just be so heartbreaking, disappointing, because I think he actually has a shot to win this still, that he would just kind of give up and fall on his sword that way. So hopefully Tyler, like production will set you straight and, you know, you can see the light and come back and get rid of Danny, get her out of there, get rid of Fred, like get rid of the people that suck. Please keep.
Or if you don't like your alliance anymore, break them up. Let's change the game. Let's make it fun.
You know, oh my God, imagine if he backdoor Danny.
That would be great.
Oh, if that had happened, that would have just been
so great, Chantele.
What? What did you say?
It'd be so great. Wouldn't it be just awesome if like one of them just said, I'm not doing this anymore, and they just broke it all apart? Like that would be fantastic television.
Please. It's like, Tyler, if you're going to do that, how about you blow up the game in a way that we'd like to see it? So win HOH, put up people that we hate, like blow up their game, and then be like, okay, I'm out of here. Deuces. Like after one of them goes.
Yeah, drag them grab onto their hand and skip out of the door with them and go.
Man, I just need Danny to just understand how bad her game has been up until now. It's just really frustrating that she's seemingly being able to get away with her really bad gameplay. I think it's been pretty bad, and they're making her look like a mastermind on the show.
Well, I don't know if you follow. I don't really watch often, but I've heard a couple grumblings from Evil Dick, and he hates the way she's playing. Like he's ripping her apart, and he was actually like really looking forward to her playing at the beginning, and now he's like, I don't know what she's doing. I don't know why she's playing with the people she's playing with. I don't know why she's playing this way.
Nobody really knows, and
I don't know.
I guess it's a lot of it is the Janelle-C. Janelle-C is a thing where you know she apparently she did buy her Janelle's dress that she had like up for auction. So Janelle's season 7, I believe, a finale dress. Janelle put it up for auction for charity, and Danielle bought it and wore it for the finale of season 8, apparently. And so there's a little bit of single white female type, the original Stan Janelle-C going on, I think, with Danny. And so she wants to be her, I think, really bad. I think that she thinks that by not working with Janelle is going to allow her to kind of step into that limelight. But Janelle is she's a queen. Like she can't do any wrong. And Danny doesn't have that status, and I don't think she's going to be gaining it. And I don't think she's going to be gaining it with this gameplay this season, even if she wins.
No.
Even if she wins.
I'm not hearing anybody saying that they're cheering for her. So no, she's not a favorite right now.
There's anybody that could win right now that would be like ultimate Big Brother status, like getting to the levels of the Dan Gieslings and the Derek and the, like, do you think anybody winning this game that's left in this game right now would be able to achieve that true all-star status?
Yeah, well, I think through all-star status, I mean, truthfully, I think if Tyler sticks it out and he pulls off a win, I think people would look back at Tyler and go, he's a really good player. If Davon can pull it off, I think that people would look back and go, Davon, they would associate Big Brother with Davon. I'm trying to think who else there is. Like, I mean, I don't think that if David won, I think people would be like, oh, this is like when Amber won Survivor. Like, it's sort of a, well, what was she doing there? What was he doing there anyways? Like, what did he do the first time? Like, it's I'm not sure if there's any, like, Kevin. There were so many people that were like, Kevin from Big Brother 19's coming back. Like, no, Kevin from Big Brother 11. Like, they didn't know who he was. And I don't know. I don't. Nicole Franzel or Ian. I guess if they win twice, they might get some more. Like, people might be like, yeah, they're good at Big Brother. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe
some people like Nicole. I don't get it.
I mean, okay,
maybe Ian. Yeah, Ian, Tyler, and Davon, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you with those three.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that I think people that like Nicole Franzel are only looking at the fact that she's managing to get to the end of the game by any means. She does do certain things, like she realizes when she's in a bad position with a certain player, and she's able to say things to, it's usually something to make them feel bad about her, but she's able to get people on her side. And most people like me and you, we don't like her tactics on how she gets people on her side. Right. And that's why we don't respect her gameplay. But some people are not looking at her tactics and just looking at the outcome. So she is able to get people on her side. We don't like the how she gets people on her side. And that's why we dislike her gameplay. In my opinion, that's how I would sum it up. What do you think?
No, I agree with that. I think, there's so many times when you hear, oh, well, girls, like, we don't look at females the same way as players, but I think it's the ones that play, like Janelle, I mean, is Big Brother. Like, I actually think of Big Brother. I think of Janelle. I don't think of anybody else. Like, I think Janelle, like that's who's Big Brother to me.
And Dr. Will.
And, yeah, like she really gets looked at as like this great player who doesn't cry, like she fights and she strategizes in some ways, and that's what makes a great player. I think, manipulation is wonderful and everything, but there's some lines that seems to be like I don't buy that it's completely gameplay. I think that she gets upset with people. Nicole gets upset with people, and so she targets them because she has insecurities about things. Like, sure. I think I don't think it's completely gameplay when she goes after people.
And that's the issue, that if she came into the diary room and is like, yeah, I mean, that comment didn't really bother me that much, but I kind of played it up a little bit. I'm just like putting a little bit of waterworks on because, like, I don't know, I wanted to be the target next. And so, I use my tools. If we said that, I'd be like, man, that's savage, but I respect that. I respect that you are making a concerted effort to use your emotion as a tactic or a manipulation. But the fact that she puts this guise on of being I'm such a goody two shoes, like I don't swear, like I'm a good girl, like don't hurt me, like it's too pathetic. And like I don't like pathetic. I like people who are strong and like determined and like they know that they're good. Like she plays like I'm such a bad player, I don't know what's going on all the time. And like we know you know what's going on. You know how to get to the end. You're using your own tactics. Own it. We want her to own it. Ugh. Yeah. She's such a
own it.
Own it.
You played a couple guys. Got them to do your dirty work. Own it. Don't be like, I don't know why people talk about me being with guys. Like, because that's what your game was.
It was. Own it. Like a couple of tries, a couple of guys. I think it's like you should get shirts branded. Like I'm gonna get some shirts branded that says a couple of tries and a couple of guys. Like
yeah, really. I can get guys to do anything. Like, like that's wonderful. That's great gameplay if you own it.
So why do you think that production loves her so much?
Oof. You got me.
They brought her back the second time, right?
They love her. And the race.
And then she came back this time. Yeah, Amazing Race as well. I liked her the most out of any time on the Amazing Race. I didn't like what she did to Rachel and Team Big Brother. Like, I didn't like that at all. But up until that point, I wasn't hating her as much as I usually do.
Yeah.
Why do you think?
I don't know. I don't know what's maybe there's some sort of family relation in there or something. I have no idea. Like, there's got to be some sort of connection because I don't get it. She's not doing anything that some of these other people do that they couldn't be asked to come back for. I don't know.
I don't know.
They love her
too. I'm like,
there were people that weren't on Allstars that like I really wish I really wish that we got to see on Allstars. Some, there are some people that are characters that probably would never get asked, but were like, Amanda from Big Brother 15. She was crazy at times, but she was television gold.
I think Big Brother 15 is blacklisted.
Big Brother 15 is tough. Yeah.
Especially, go ahead.
I was also going to say, like, I also was like Big Brother 13, Kalia. Like, Kalia should have been asked back. Like, she's a fighting person in some ways. Like, she was the person who Jeff, frustrated Jeff so much because she didn't want to do what he wanted to do. Like, I thought she was great.
Well, like, I can't even remember. I don't even know. I don't know the stats on this, so don't quote me. I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but like, I don't even think that many Black people have made it to the jury. I think it's still a handful in these 22 seasons, which is really, really unfortunate. I know Marvin did in season, what was that, 2 or 3? 3.
Season
with Danielle Reyes.
Marvin, I'm trying to remember. 5, season 5, Marvin.
Oh yeah, he's with 4 with Marcellus. No, that's Marcellus is 3.
No, 5. He was with Marcellus was 3. Marvin was 5. He was with Diane and Drew and Cowboy.
Are you sure? Because because he likes the twins' butt. One of the twins' butts. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Andrea, Audria. I can't remember now. What's her name? Adria, and I don't remember the other. Adria and something.
Adria.
Anyway,
Natalie.
The jury, I believe. I guess did Marcellus make the jury either season?
Both seasons, Marcellus made the jury. Bo in season 6.
He did as well.
Made the jury. Yep. Jamaica in season 8.
Bailey in season.
Did Libra make the jury?
Bailey did, and Devon on her second time. I think they were both first jury members.
Yeah. I think Libra did and Ollie did in season 10. But yeah, it's not a high number really, and even the characters as I'm saying them again now, like it still feels like they look for certain stereotypes within that community to put on. Like they're either very religious or they're people that are sort of on edge, and they're going to be like, can we make them go over the edge? Like that's what it feels like. So, or for the guys, I don't know. Or for the guys, it's like, okay, well, if they're not religious, are they gay? Because then we could get the gay check mark off too with this person.
Can you imagine there was 2 gay men in the house and not them both being Black? That would be so interesting if like they were just 2 people. I mean, I'm really
Well, they did. They had that in season 9. They had it in season 9, and the one guy left.
I mean, season 9. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to do a rewatch of that season because it's been so shunned that maybe I'll be appreciate it now 10 years later. Maybe.
There's little bits of season 9 that make me laugh. There's some things in season 9 that make me laugh a lot, like the religious Natalie and Chelsea and the egg fight that they had was kind of funny.
I don't remember. I kind of remember. I don't remember.
But I do remember that there was a lot of really nasty. They were nasty people. They weren't nice people, and they weren't going very well in life. It seemed like things weren't great for them.
Yeah, I kind of remember everybody. But Chelsea was with the James guy that was the porn star. Is that season?
Yes, and then there was 2 guys that got sent to jail. Oh, the winner got sent to jail, and another one of the jury members got sent to jail for a drug thing. So
right
after the show. So
yeah, I remember that. I mean, I was so excited. I remember to have a winter season, and it was just terrible. I was so disappointed. Kind of like I was so excited to have this All-Star season, and I'm so disappointed. Okay, so is there anything that could happen to turn this season around? What could happen next to turn everything around and maybe make it be a season that you're rooting for?
I think, it just needs to be a full swing to the other side of the house. The fighters that are left, whoever survives between Bay and Day, takes the lead and convinces Kevin and David, and well, that's pretty much all that's left. Maybe Ian to do something, and that maybe that might turn it around for a couple weeks, or a huge implosion within the 6 needs to happen that everybody else gets sort of not looked at and it happens. But I don't see that happening because they're not those type of individuals that are going to explode. The only one really that might would be Danny. But then I think she would more get shunned by them. I don't think it would just explode and everything would fall apart. So
well, I think though,
I don't know.
If they start targeting her, maybe she will start doing too much, and that's what they've kind of been like getting upset with her that she's like planting all the seeds. She's the gardener, need the weed whacker. Like, they're seeing this, and so if her game keeps on getting blown up like this and blown up like this and blown up like this, they're gonna get tired of it because she is annoying how she does it. It's not subtle, and it's annoying. I don't know. I'm annoyed by Danny so much. And I think it's also that I'm annoyed that she teamed up with Franzel. Like, just team up with anybody but her. Franzel. I don't want them to be tight duo final 2. Like, get out.
I'm annoyed with the whole 6. I don't like this alliance. I think it's like filled with boring people. None that I'm really cheering to see win. And I my gut tells me this is the season, this is how it's going to go, and we're going to go, wow, Big Brother for the first All-Stars really wasn't that bad.
I love the first All-Stars. It's you didn't like the first?
I liked Janelle.
Oh, I liked Janelle and Dr. Will's story.
Yeah, but I hated that some of the people who went early, because I thought like they could have like mixed it up a bit.
Well, because
and I felt it was just
because Danielle Reyes targeted Janelle from the beginning. If that didn't happen, they should have worked together. If they'd worked together, then Janelle decided with Dr. Will and all them to turn against Danielle. And so, yeah, I think that she was just too early with that hit. And I think that even with this season, they're too early with their Janelle hit. That they're just losing. They're going to lose the game for the fact that they got distracted by her legacy.
Yeah.
Bad game players.
Let's hope. Let's just hope something happens. Maybe a giant twist, and they go, "We've got 11 new All-Stars coming into the house now," and they'll bring some more.
There's another game being played right now with the people that are already addicted. Let's watch that one. Like, I want to watch anything but this thing. Like, I was like glued to the feeds when Janelle and Kaiser were still in the house, and now I'm like, I'll update myself on Twitter and like Rob has a podcast in the mornings. Like I'm just not as invested anymore. It's just not interesting.
I'd rather be watching The Basement at this point. Like there's nothing going on there either, but at least something's interesting.
Yeah, kind of. CBS, come on, man. We're loyal.
Turn it around.
We're loyal. Just do something. Yeah. These powers aren't going to help anything. That's going to do anything that we care about. Yeah. Unless, like, I wish that
they should have had somebody in. They should have had somebody in the room, in the basement, holding on to the things and just handing them to the people that are like in the minority and just said, go. Like,
oh my God, so good.
For the fans.
I wish that with David's power, it also kept him safe. Because then, I mean, I guess it would just be like an extra veto, but then it would just allow him to maybe use it on anybody but himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he'd be more willing to make a move for sure.
Man, is there anything else you want to talk about?
No. I think this was great. I appreciate being on. This is fantastic. I mean, I'm still going to watch. I love the show. I mean, I can't stop watching. I'm so invested all these 20 years.
I know. Well, do you know what? Actually, I'm really interested to talk about this briefly. So Arissa Cox from Big Brother Canada, she's now an executive producer within the show, and she's kind of made it very clear that she wants to have a large representation of people of color, BIPOC in general, that coming to the show. So she wants it to be at least 50% of the house guests are going to be BIPOC. So do you think that this is going to work and people are going to enjoy watching the show on a whole? Like, how do you think it's going to affect the casting and the type of people that are going to go on the show? What are your thoughts?
I mean, what could it hurt? I mean, why not? Let's do it. It's been, I actually think Big Brother Canada, one of the pros for Big Brother Canada since it started has been, they've been quite open with their characters and getting people that don't normally get casted on these shows on. And it never feels like race is an issue at all in the game, in the Big Brother Canada games. I don't really remember a time where I felt like, oh, maybe there was one. But mostly I think people don't nominate people.
No, I said, did you watch season 8?
Sorry, I missed that. What was it?
I said, did you watch season 8?
No, I didn't watch season 8.
Okay, so there was
I missed season 8. Yeah.
I mean, there was only a few weeks of it, of course, because they had to shut down production. But what had happened in the beginning of it, there was a person in the house that was doing a lot of microaggressions, saying that he's like, oh, like if we do this to him, he's going to blow. Like they're kind of instigating the one black man or one of the two black men that was in the house and just saying these little things to him. So eventually the black man, he wasn't even saying anything threatening. I wasn't scared of him at all, but another white woman was like, oh, like you're like, I'm feeling uncomfortable. I'm feeling uncomfortable. And he wasn't even doing anything. He was like pretty far distance away from him. And so the black guy was like kind of walking. He's like, man, if you're saying words like that in the streets, like you'd get popped. Like that's all he said. And then he was ejected from the house. And then after that, there was like this big GoFundMe being like, I stand with Jamar, I believe is what the GoFundMe was. And so we over $5,000 to give to Jamar. And then the aggressor, he was also expelled from the game. And so there was a lot of actually in the beginning, those first couple of weeks, a lot of microaggressions that were happening that was race related, including one woman who is part of the LGBTQ community. So you would hope that she would be a little bit more open-minded, but she was saying to that same guy, Jamar, being like, oh man, if you were walking around in my town, you'd be arrested for sure. Stuff like that. And thinking that that's a joke and it wasn't funny. You know what I mean? It's like, well, why? Like, why are you saying that? And so there was a lot of discussion about race and microaggressions and, how people have been cast in the show. It was pretty bad, not going to lie, but hopefully this will change.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, no, I didn't watch much of that season, and that's unfortunate to hear because from before that, I thought that they were doing a wonderful job. Hopefully, though, I guess this sounds like the plan is that they're going to do a little bit more focus on this and make it even better. So, but yeah, I think the more we expose not just the players but the viewers to this stuff, the better, right? I don't think the show needs to turn into this whole everybody talk about their backgrounds and whatever, but what it does need to show is that everybody can work together. I just hope that it doesn't turn into a situation where these people all get casted and then they're all put into this, well, they're all together because they're not white. And so we all have to survive by just being the white people. I hope that doesn't happen, because that would be, unfortunately, that would be against what I think the producers are trying to make it. Knowing Arissa, I mean, she would probably be doing her best to make it not that. So, yeah.
Do you audition?
I don't know. Fingers crossed. I audition. Well, see now, I don't think that I would make it on. I'm not quite sure, but I would say
out of all the seasons, this would be.
But I did. This could be it. Season. I did audition for the first 2 seasons. I was excited, and then of course I've auditioned for like almost all the Amazing Race Canadas because I'd love to do that. But yeah, who knows? I don't know. I mean, timing. Maybe it makes sense to dust it off the video and try it out again. Who knows? We'll see.
Well, I mean, especially since
you should be on.
I've tried. Let me tell you, I've tried. Hopefully this year is my year. I said that every year that I've auditioned. I've done decently well, but haven't gone all the way. So hopefully this year I'll have that opportunity. But who knows? I mean, I would love to be on the show just because I love the strategy and I want to see if whether or not I can do it in the real thing. I've played a lot of these social strategy games outside of the game. I know that I have the capability out here to be able to do it. I want to see if I could do it in the real house. I sit here and critique people's games and feel as though I would have the optimum strategy and, I'd be able to maneuver. I want to see if I can put my money where my mouth is and make that happen.
That's right. That's right.
It's kind of why I would want
Sometimes it's safer sitting on the couch. Sometimes it's safer sitting on the couch and not putting yourself into that situation.
Exactly. But I kind of want to do it. It's also
you should
audition for Survivor as well, or no?
So I didn't for the first time that Canadians can apply, which was 39, which actually I guess that might be a good thing that I didn't because of what happened with that season. But because I was getting married when it was about to start filming. But now I'm going to start putting the audition tapes out for it, and fingers crossed. I would love to be on it. I think it would be great. They don't have tons of. I think that's a show that maybe even more than probably the same amount as Big Brother in the States needs to be looking at their cast. As well as how they cast people and different people that they should be trying to be focused on and not getting out of that stereotype. I just wish that they would shake their casting directors and go, stop worrying about finding the token whatever, and let's just find people.
Absolutely.
That would be great because that's what made Big Brother original and Survivor original. That's what made it great at the beginning. Because you got to know them a little bit, but really it was their character that came through and where they were from, and that's what made we liked that about those shows.
We love that, and so yeah, I totally would love to get back to the basics. Yeah. And I talked to you a little bit about the Survivor that I played, where we're sleeping in tents or whatever. And I never really thought that I'd be good at real Survivor. I mean, I would go on and I would try to do my best to win, but I think that it would be a lot more challenging, in my opinion, to win than Big Brother. I get the Big Brother game and strategy a little bit better, but playing that version, I was like, I might be able to do this. Yeah. I might be able to figure that out. So, I mean, it'll probably happen that I'll get on Survivor first.
At least I know at least you would have epic voting tribal council, your voting confessionals. I know.
I feel like I'm an actor, I'm an artist, I'm a dancer, I'm a performer. I like putting on the show to a certain extent. So
That's right.
I don't like things being boring. I like things being fun. So I definitely always try to do something a little bit interesting. I don't know if anybody in the audience, I don't know if anybody's still left watching. We were almost at 2-hour mark, but Phil here, he has his own online version of Survivor that he puts on. I think you're on, what, season 38?
38 right now. We're getting close to halfway through. I've been doing it for about 12 years. Love it. Yeah, no, lots of fun. People can find me on Facebook. Just look up Phil Gourlay. I'm probably the only redhead.
Is that the best way for people to contact you? Would be through Facebook, or would you maybe have Instagram that you like prefer?
Probably. I'm probably more old school, but you could also Instagram me, p.gourlay, if you want. You can look at photos of my dog.
I mean, you never know what people are into, right? No need to judge. Absolutely. So I played Phil Survivor. He was kind of alluding to what I was voted off, and I was being a little bit of a bitter jury member, and I kind of had a little bit of a dramatic exit. I wanted to make it fun and make it memorable. So I would definitely highly recommend you playing if you ever wanted to play any online reality games. I love them. I've played I've played and won a Big Brother one online. I've played Sequester and made it to jury. So there's been a lot of different online games that I participated in that are really fun. So if you love Big Brother and watching these shows online, these social strategy shows, there's tons of opportunities for you to be able to play online. And Phil has a great one. So I'm sure that, probably a couple months after this one ends, you'll probably start season 39, I would assume, correct?
That's right. Yes. Oh yeah. You just keep going and going.
Going and going.
That's right.
Great talking to you, Phil. Do you have any last things to say?
I just want to say I'm so proud of you. I love watching all these videos. I'm very honored to be on this with you. I hope I can come on again. Would love to talk about Big Brother and Survivor and all that stuff. And I'll try and get into the challenge for you.
Well, okay, so with the challenge, it's the part of it that's difficult is that I've had such a history with it. I started watching it when I was like 14 years old. I was watching The Real World, and like 15, like I watched The Real World, then I watched Road Rules, and then it became Real World versus Road Rules, the challenge. And that happened in like 1999 or 2000. And so I just have a history with all these people. I'm seeing people that are the same age as me that I've been watching grow up through these shows, that it's just like, that's what I love about that so much. Like that's the drive for me, is that the nostalgia part of it. And so they always are bringing back people from past seasons. They're peppering in new ones from the new shows that are on MTV, and now they've merged with CBS. So CBS shows are kind of involved with how they're bringing in some fresh meat. But that's what I really like about it, is that I kind of know these people's story arcs. I know what they've gone through, and I know the histories. And sometimes they have a season of rivals, or a season of exes, or seasons of, you know what I mean? They change up the themes with people that I know some of their history with. And I really enjoy that I know these characters so well. So if you wanted to get into the challenge, you kind of would have to start a little while back.
I think I have to go back to Road Rules. I did watch that. I remember Road Rules because I remember Road Rules. Wasn't Road Rules like a spin-off to The Real World a little bit? Like, but then it went like, it was like, we're gonna do like challenges, and then it was like it came on right after The Real World back in the day. Yeah, okay. So I probably did see a couple.
It's probably like 6 or 7 people living in an RV in some part of the world. So like they could be like traveling around Spain, doing challenges for money, but living with strangers on a camper, like an RV, a bus. So I love the concept of that. I was always a Road Rules fan because I was like, it was just so exciting. Like, just like, I like the competition and I liked the social strategy element. And so that was super fun. So I was always like, I like the Road Rules people better than like, all they did is sit in a house and like fight, like whatever, Real World people. But like, I Road Rules all the way. And so then that's what they brought the challenge, is like the battle of these people coming together. And so I just have grown up with them and I love them. So right now we're doing a rewatch of season 13, which is The Duel, which is it's an epic season of the challenge, or Real World versus Road Rules. So if you wanted to catch up, one thing that's different, each episode, 22 minutes. So
Oh,
definitely not the hour.
so it can be done.
Right? You can get it done in like 6 hours. You're going to be done a whole season. So that's one good thing.
That's a work day. That's my work.
So easy. And then also, if you can get access to CBS Access, they have seasons, I believe, 11 to 30 that are available on CBS All Access. So I've been finding mine on Kodi.
Wonderful.
And on Daily Motion, I've been finding some episodes. But if you have access to CBS All Access, you can find seasons 11 to 30 on there. You can get caught up. And then we're going to do a rewatch after. So if you want to follow us along on a rewatch here at Reality Realness, we will love to have you come and chat, especially being a person going back and watching and becoming a new fan. I bet you will like it more than you think.
That's right.
You will.
All right. I might try it out. Look out.
What else do you have to watch right now, right? I just watched the Eco Challenge.
That's true.
Did you watch that? The Eco Challenge?
I am watching that.
I mean, I used to be a fan of the Eco Challenge in like the 90s when it was on. And like, I used to watch it because like, I loved reality TV and seeing people put themselves through like all this shit. And so I loved it. And so bringing it back, I've been really invested. Where are you at in it?
Right now, I think I'm on episode 5 or 6. I don't know. I'm not feeling it as much as I used to as a kid. Like when I watched it when I was younger, everything feels very disjointed in the way that they tell the story, and I don't remember it that way. But it feels like the really lead teams are so far ahead, and then they go back, and I'm not feeling invested like in it at all. So,
I mean, you just kind of have
I don't know.
All in one fell swoop, which is what I did. I just basically watched all. I did sit in 2 heats. So I did like episodes 1 to 5 and then 6 to 10 and just did it like that. So I really loved it, but also like I remembered the New Zealand team and like I kind of like I liked seeing the stories, like the father with Alzheimer's and his son decided to run with him even though he could have maybe placed or won. He decided to run with his father for the last time. Like I thought there was some really epic moments. Yeah. I cried a few times. I like that. They can make this cold heart warm, So I'm enjoying it, but.
Hasn't happened to me yet.
It might happen to you
but I'm not sure it's in there.
I believe it is. I believe in you. Well, hopefully you will come back on. You are welcome anytime. I'm always looking for someone to talk to right after the episode. So yes, you are anytime you are raring to go. I'm raring to have you. Yay! Lasting with us for a little over 2 hours. Please subscribe right down below so we can just be making more videos for more people. We love talking about this reality TV stuff all the time. Please like this video if you didn't mind what we had to talk about today and ring the bell so that every time we go live or we have a new episode, you will be notified. So Phil's already said where you can find him, but you can follow me at Reality Realness with 3 S's on Instagram and Twitter, but there's not a second E on the Twitter because the character count really annoying, but you'll figure it out. You'll find me somewhere, right, Phil? I'm findable.
That's right. That's a whole other podcast.
Exactly. Ciao, everybody. Thanks for hanging out.